Well, g'day. How you doing? Almost at the end of the day. That was a hard act to follow if you were here in the room with me just then, going against the guy who does all the movies and cool stuff. And I noticed a lot of you are sitting on the edges of your rows to get out when you realize that I'm from Microsoft. My name's Andrew Parsons. I work in the Windows Developer Outreach team. And I'm talking to you about making cross-platform games from our perspective and maybe dreaming up some cool stuff and making it reality, also known as UWP. Let me start with a question. I want to show you a video, and I'm going to ask you a question, and hopefully you'll get the right answer. But let's play this video first.
I need to know everything they told you.
So the question, what do they all have in common? If you were thinking, what's that? People? If you were thinking that they were all high-budget, high-fidelity, high-performance games, you'd be correct. If you think they're these games that people go out and look for, you'd be correct. But the other thing is, these games are all universal Windows platform games on the PC. And traditionally, people have talked about UWP and said, oh, we lose performance with that. We lose fidelity, we lose the ability to actually have a really high quality game because UWP is somehow some weird sort of wrapper around everything else that is on Windows. And those games are there to show you that that's actually really not true. You can have the highest performance games running as a UWP game. And it's not just those games. It's really good. This is back from up until April, and we have a bunch more since then. My slides are being updated next week, literally, for the latest. The reason why I'm telling you this is because UWP is the converged platform for building games in the Microsoft ecosystem. Universal Windows Platform truly means that. Universal. You build once, and you can build games for Windows, for Xbox, for HoloLens, for Windows Mixed Reality, and everything else that we have in the Windows and Microsoft ecosystem. When we look at UWP, when we first came out, we kind of made some promises that it would actually be this ubiquitous development platform, and it wasn't quite true. So in 2015, Windows 10 came out, and we were able to give you the UWP games on Windows experience, but Xbox One lagged a little bit behind. It was built on the Windows 10 core, but it didn't give you that ability to have UWP games. A year later, we actually started seeing some of that convergence happen. And the convergence started with the store. So you as a developer, if you're building a game on Xbox or Windows, it doesn't matter, you use that one store experience. Similarly, if you're a consumer and you want to buy a game, when you look at the Xbox One store and you put it side by side to the Windows 10 store in the games section, they're virtually identical. One is a light theme and one is a dark theme, but they're basically the same experience for the consumer. And we also, at that time, introduced UWP apps, Universal Windows Platform apps, but not games. And so finally, this year, we announced the ability to build games as UWP games on the Xbox as well, and we'll continue to improve UWP on Windows. So what does it do for you as a game developer? This is a bit of a setting the stage before I dive into the exciting stuff. We had managed development on Xbox, Activision, Ubisoft, EA. And then we introduced the indie program, the ID at Xbox program, that allowed developers to self-publish, kinda. ID is a managed program. You sign NDAs, but you also get the benefits of that. You get technical support and account managers and things like that. But what's next? When we look at how we've been tracking, we have these three sort of paths to developer success when we're talking about the Microsoft ecosystem. They've got the classic, right? The Win32, the stuff that you can do right now and you have been able to do for years with Unity and other platforms, other engines, I should say, DirectX, C++, whatever you want to do. Win32 development's been there, and being able to actually target PCs. The other end of the spectrum, you've got the Xbox XDK. That's where you have a managed program, and the ID at Xbox program has been a great facilitator for that. UWP development, up until now, has given you that ability to actually publish games on the Windows Store and target all those different platforms, PCs, tablets, HoloLens, et cetera. But that's kind of where we've been stuck. We've had a sort of missing link in the middle, if you will, and that is now solved and filled with the Xbox Live Creators Program. How many of you have heard about the Creators Program? A few of you? Okay, a good number. So for those of you who haven't, the Xbox Live Creators Program is actually really super exciting for two reasons. It's an open program that allows any developer, I'll read out the sentence, any developer who can now build an Xbox Live-enabled game on Xbox and Windows. There's two parts to that I want to actually highlight. One, that means now any developer can publish a game on Xbox One. You don't need concept approval. You don't need signed NDAs. You don't need any of that stuff. You just need to use the Xbox Live Creators Program, and you can actually publish your game on the Xbox One console. The second part of that sentence is you can now build Xbox Live-enabled games, Xbox Live-enabled UWP games, on both Xbox and Windows. Again, without any concept approval, without any NDAs, just incorporate the Xbox Live Creators APIs, and you can actually take advantage of quite a bit of the Xbox Live stack. Why would you want to do that? Well, before I dive into some of the actual features of Xbox Live that you can start taking advantage of in the Creators Program, I just want to highlight some of the actual features that I was just talking about. The fact that there's no licensing, there's no agreements that you need to sign. You self-publish. You can do it whenever you're ready. You can update whenever you want. You can change the price whenever you want. And I'll talk about pricing and store in a bit. Use the standard store policies. So if you're already publishing apps or other games on Windows Store, it's exactly the same. There's nothing changed there. And it uses a subset of the Xbox Live stack that you can use in your games. So there are three sort of buckets of features of Xbox Live that anyone can take advantage of now. The first one is marketing and reach. And there's four sort of things here I want to talk to you about. Identity and basic presence. This is actually the absolute minimum you have to do if you want to have an Xbox Live-enabled game with Creators Program. You must implement identity. What that means is you must actually allow people to log into your game with their Xbox Live gamer tag. Not much of a burden because they can actually now use their Xbox Live gamer tag, right? And the cool thing about that is it has that basic presence to go with it. So that means I might be playing your game, and it shows up on my feed. And that means all my friends who are following my feed can see that I'm playing your game. They may have not ever heard of your game, and they now suddenly see it there. And they might click on that, because that'll be a clickable link on both Windows and Xbox that allows them to actually discover more about your game. So that's what's really cool about that. And you can actually use some of the APIs to actually see what other friends someone has once you actually have their gamer tag, to be able to interrogate that and see what else other people have been doing, maybe with your game or others. UWP is now on Xbox One, which I just mentioned before, and that converged store experience. This is all ways of actually getting your game further out there. But there's more stuff that happens that allows that game to actually be sort of explored. The first one is Mixer. Mixer is Microsoft's interactive streaming. And I've got a slide later to talk about that. But basically it allows any player of your game to stream their experience out and watchers to be able to interact with them in a few different creative ways. There's game hubs. Every game published on Xbox One has its own hub. We don't care if it's a Creators Collection game or whether it's Call of Duty 52. You can have your own game hub and customize that. And that means you can actually put news and updates on there. You can actually advertise the fact that you've got new features or levels or whatever you have to actually showcase and keep alive your game to people who are interested. And with game hubs, there's also clubs as well. Clubs are things that players create around a particular experience. So let's say you had a game that had a level creator. Well, someone could create a club around just the level creation part of your game and actually talk to like-minded people. And then Party Chat is a system-wide Xbox One feature that is incorporated and is accessible to every Creators Program game published on Xbox as well. Gives you that low latency chatting experience that you might be experienced with already. And then underneath all that is this platform that they all sort of fit on. So part of the Xbox Live stack that you get access to is the ability to have leaderboards in your game, supported by Xbox itself. Feature statistics about what's going on, how many people are playing, and compare people so they can actually brag to each other. You can take advantage of the game DVR, as many people do, already take clips of games they're playing and publish them up. Creators Collection games are also part of that experience. Connected storage to allow you to actually roam your game profile across devices. And then finally, all the accessibility features that we've been working so hard to make sure are top-notch. Text-to-speech, speech-to-text, and all those other features that allow people. We basically have this Games for Everyone initiative at Microsoft because we want to have as many people be able to play games as possible. And so your games can actually take advantage of those features. So I did mention that it's a subset, and this is the subset. So this is what every Xbox Live creator can use on the left, and managed programs, the ones that are in the ID at Xbox program, or those third-party publishers can use those as well. So you can see those features I just talked about, sign-in, presence, etc. There are some features you get as part of Xbox Live Creators Program that they don't. It's an open program. There's no NDA, no approvals. Fast certification, because it's just a standard Windows Store certification. You can update how often you want, price however you want. And then the key one there that I haven't talked about is the fact that you can develop with retail hardware. So you can go down to GameStop or Best Buy, order something on Amazon, get an Xbox One console, just a retail console, bring it home, download the Dev Mode app from the store, flick the switch, and you've now got a dev box to actually be able to test on. It's super easy. You can do remote debugging from your PC, deploy the game onto that console, and test it on the console. That's actually a pretty cool feature. There are some things we don't get in Creators Program, and I want to highlight those as well, just to make sure I'm not trying to pull the wool over your eyes or anything. There's some editorial promotion that those guys in the managed programs get. The two or three big things, achievements and gamer score you do not get. That's something that we reserve directly for the managed programs. And multiplayer. Now, I want to flag this multiplayer that's local multiplayer on a console, totally doable, right? If you can have couch play, 4 people playing on in a room, totally fine. Multiplayer across the internet is not allowed in the Creators Program on Xbox. On Windows, if you roll your own multiplayer, totally fine. But if you want to take advantage of the Xbox Live multiplayer servers, you do have to be in one of the managed programs. So now when we look at this multiple paths to success, we actually see there's a third option now that actually allows you to deploy and publish to all of that Windows Store, as well as to the Xbox. So that's just one of some of the features we've actually done this year, some of the things we've been working on for game development in the Microsoft ecosystem. Xbox Play Anywhere is for those games that want to actually be able to purchase once and actually play across different devices. Windows Sonic is a audio technology that we actually borrowed from the HoloLens, where we discovered that audio in a sort of augmented reality and virtual reality environment is crucial to actually bring you into that immersive experience. So we brought that in combination with Dolby to actually have this spatial audio that actually works really effectively on headphones and on TV speakers as well, to give you that much more immersive experience that you can take advantage of in your games as well. Streaming install allows you to actually get your players to actually get started even before they actually have finished downloading the game. Mixer, which I mentioned before, that interactive streaming. Game mode, which I'll talk about in just a second. And then just Windows 10 itself. Like, we've been making updates, and we've actually committed to doing big feature updates at least once or twice a year. And in fact, next year, next week, I've got a link on my last slide. We have a Windows Developer Day to talk about the next version of Windows 10 and some of the extra features we're about to announce that will be of interest to you guys. So let me look at game mode for a second, because game mode actually is part of the process that allows players to experience your game in the best way possible on their device. Game mode allows a game to have isolated exclusive access to CPU and GPU. It partitions out a set amount of stuff, and it can be done through both the user themselves or you. The user can actually just hit Windows key G and bring up the game bar. That's what you can see there on the left-hand side, and select Use Game Mode for this game. I did it accidentally to Notepad the other day. Right? Notepad performs great now, right? Because Windows thinks that it's a game and gives it all these extra resources, right? But more importantly for you guys, you can do that as a developer too. So in the game's app manifest file, you can just say, hey, I want expanded resources. I want game mode. And so when your game starts up, when it gets installed, the operating system already knows that it's a game and needs that extra resource. And then if you do that, you can then start doing stuff in your code to be able to act on that as well. So this is just a really quick sample where I'm saying, hey, how many CPU cores do I have exclusively? Right? Just a quick API call. It tells if I have more than three or more, sorry, I might do some additional graphics processing on my game. If I don't have that many, I revert down to a lower fidelity experience. But I can do that programmatically. That's great on Windows, but I'm sure some of you have heard that on the Xbox, UWP games may not perform as well. And that was true. Up until about a week ago, we had, if you published a game as a UWP game on Xbox console, you would get about 25% of the resources on the console, because it used the app model on the console. But last week, we announced the expanded resources model that it just happens automatically, and so now UWP games get approximately about 85% of the resources. And games that were already published have seen a significant increase. Like, one game went from 25 frames a second to 33 frames a second without them doing anything. We just switched this on, and they saw that increase. So that's a super exciting addition that we've just announced. Mixer, I talked about, interactive streaming. It has this really fast latency, right? Really low latency, less than 1 second latency, compared to other traditional streaming, it's like 10 to 20 seconds of latency. And the interactivity part of Mixer is the thing that makes it really valuable to you. I've got a thing there about built-in sound and video boards and fully interactive controls, but it's the things that you can take beyond that, because Mixer has a set of APIs. So you can, as a developer, program in to your game a way of interacting with the Mixer stream. So you can actually code in Hunger Games style experiences, right? So a player is playing a game and having a real struggle with a particular boss battle, and the players vote in some power-up that appears in the game to help the player actually win. Watchers may vote what the next level is going to be, or the next fight's going to be. So we have that kind of experience, and that's just the start. We want to see what you guys can do with those APIs. Four-person co-streaming is awesome as well, being able to have the full set of players actually having one single stream. And then just streaming is super, super easy. So when we look at those things, they're things that are available to you as a UWP developer. But some of them are available to some of the other things as well. And so if I show you, these are all the things I just mentioned, all the things I talked about. And you can see on Win32, Mixer's available for a Win32 developer. Windows Sonic APIs are available. Game mode is available. Not as rich with the API calls, but it is available. On the other side, the guys that program on the Xbox, they have access to things like Play Anywhere and Xbox Live and streaming install. But it's only if you build your games as UWP games through Creators Program or ID at Xbox that you can actually take advantage of all those things I just mentioned. I'm going to switch gears just for a minute and talk about the Windows Store. So I talked about the store being converged, and that's what's just happened in the last, say, 12 months, where on one side we had some really cool things like downloadable content and a desktop converter, which I should mention. It's also known as Desktop Bridge. It allows you to take an existing Win32 game and effectively wrap it and repackage it as a UWP game and publish it into the Windows Store. You may not want to do that. App developers seem to want to do it. Game developers seem to think games that are 3, 4 years old may not be of interest to the consumers. And that's generally true. But I've got something that may actually change your mind with that. So when we converge these, we now have this one developer portal. We have unified monetization options as well as single payout. And we have this consistent store experience both for you and for your consumers. So a couple of examples, initial promotional pricing. It's super easy. It's drop-downs. You can see here, this is part of the Dev Center where you actually publish your game. You just set a price. You set a schedule for when you want it to apply. You can customize it for specific markets. So you can say, hey, I want it just for these European countries or for Asia. The other one is you can have sale pricing. And so sale pricing is amazing because there's so much flexibility here. You can have a timed sale. You can have a regional sale. You can change things. And you can change things as often as you like, too. This is not just something you're restricted to do once a week or something. You can change these things as you like. And why I showed these things is because there's another feature that I really love about this sort of pricing. And this is where maybe that desktop bridge thing comes in as well. Because you can actually give consumers a discount on a game based on their ownership of other games that you have in your portfolio. So as an example, you've got a brand new game coming out, and you say, hey, if anyone owns my old games, I'll give you a 10% discount. All right? Or if you bring some of your old games through the desktop bridge, and super easy, you put them in there, there's very little effort to put them in the store. And then you can say, hey, if you buy my new game, you get a 30% discount on all these old games. Games that weren't monetizing anyway, all of a sudden people are seeing that ability to grab some games at a steep discount, and they may be remonetized in a way that you might not have otherwise been able to do. So the store has some really cool things there. There's also rollout, so you can actually roll out based on a particular time. So you can have a midnight launch worldwide. It comes out in New Zealand first, Australia, then Asia, et cetera. You can do regional changes and also check on the store how things are performing. You can do updates that are only to your own specific allocated alpha ring or beta ring. So you can say, these 4 people are my beta testers. I'm going to throw out a new update. Only those people, please. Right? Or you might have an update trying to fix a bug, and you want to sort of roll it out because it's kind of a bit of a weird one that you can't find. Or you can do a phased rollout and say, roll out this update to 10% of my users. And then the store will figure out and just select 10%. And then you say, OK, it seems to be working, because you get near real-time analytics of things like app crashes and stuff. So you can actually then say, OK, it's kind of working. Roll it out to 20%, 50%, and ultimately say, yeah, OK, it's good to go. Roll out to everyone. So one thing I haven't mentioned is Windows Mixed Reality. not intentional. It's just that I wanted to really focus on Xbox Live Creators Program because it's something that's really accessible to everyone. But mixed reality, there's actually a talk we have tomorrow on mixed reality. I highly recommend you do that. We were doing some demos up here on level 4 as well. I don't know if you've seen the notifications through the Unity app. But the cool thing about mixed reality that I just wanted to flag, I wanted to spend like less than a minute on this. It's familiar because it uses the standard Windows developer tools. You can build your game in Unity. You can use Visual Studio. You use the Windows Store. It actually uses the same store. You upload your app or your game into the store. You say, I want it on Windows. I want it on mixed reality. I want it on Xbox. Tick, tick, tick. Right? It uses the same set of tools. And it just works as well. Just plug it in and play. There's no external sensors required. It's an inside-out tracking of the environment, so you don't need to have anything else, and neither do your consumers. So it's really super easy to develop with and also to deploy and have people use. And we have choice as well. It's not a Microsoft device. We've actually built out the standards and then worked with partners who are actually really good at hardware in this space to build out stuff. And so you might have seen the announcement just a couple of days back where we announced the Samsung Odyssey HMD. So that's the latest one to be added to the pool, but you can see there Acer, Dell, HP, and Lenovo are also bringing devices. And they're bringing them really soon. Some of these devices are going to be available October 17. Right? Samsung, I think it's beginning of November. And then also, just a couple of days ago, we announced our partnership with AltSpace VR, so we can do really good social VR, premium social VR. And the Steam VR preview program to be able to do Windows mixed reality devices with Steam VR. I've got a link at the end that you can actually go check out that preview program if that's of interest. So that's kind of my sort of quick spiel. I could have spent half an hour doing demos of the store or delved into the Azure Game Services model and stuff, but I wanted to just give you that quick overview. I don't want to take up too much of your time and give you some other places where you can start learning how to do that, right? The ability to actually publish a game on the console is just magical. I love being able to do that with the Xbox 360 when we had XNA, and now being able to do that on the Xbox One is just magical. So check that out. There's a Steam VR link as well. There's some GDC talks from about 6 months ago that I highly recommend. The first link and the last link I just want to talk about. The first one is the UWP Game Development Guide. It's about, when you go to that link, you'll actually go to the website version. It's a very, very long web page. To give you an idea, the printed version is 44 pages. We actually do have some printed versions of it at the booth downstairs. And it basically, even though it's 44 pages, it's basically a long series of links organized in the sort of model of the workflow of a game development. So you might talk about prototyping, or even before prototyping, just thinking about concepting, the actual production aspect, the development, testing, publishing, and post-publishing, analytics, store, all that kind of stuff, and then things like incorporating Xbox Live and other features. It goes through all of those, including Mixer and Azure and mixed reality, and gives you starting points of how to actually get those things up and running. And then the last link on this page is the Windows Developer Day, which is next week, 10/10, for Windows 10. I like my puns and alliteration. And we're actually talking about For Creators Update and what it means for developers. And there is a small section in that, about 10 minutes long, for game developers specifically, talking about some extra features that we're going to announce just then about that. The last thing I want to sort of exhort you to do is go and check out Dream Build Play. That's what my shirt is as well. A Dream Build Play is a challenge and a community. It's a contest and a community. We ran Dream Build Play a while ago. We used to run it every year, but we stopped about 4 years ago. We've brought it back this year. And so we have over $200,000 in cash, as well as additional prizes being put up for grabs as well. And we're adding new things all the time. Submissions for the contest end at the end of the year, and there are 4 categories: PC, Xbox, mixed reality, and games that use Azure as part of their experience. They all have to be UWP games, but it's very easy to do that with with Unity, sorry. And you should check that out. We also have a developer diary contest as part of this experience, so developers who want to talk about share their experience in building a UWP game can actually do that and be in the running to win, like I think it's a $5,000 prize there. And some other partners are also putting in some prizes for you to actually take part in. But the other part of Dream Build Play is the community side. And the community allows you to actually showcase your skills, ways people can connect with you, and the games that you've created. Not just for the Dream Build Play, the contest, but any game that you created. I don't care if you have games that are on iOS or on Steam. Put them on there. Because if someone else wants to come to find someone with your particular set of skills, they're going to want to see what kind of games you've created in the past. And it's a way of sort of almost matchmaking, but not really hardcore matchmaking, right? And so let's say I was trying to build a game in Unity and I needed a sound engineer. I can filter the community by audio engineering as a skill, check out those people. And there are actually a couple of audio engineers on the community that are specifically there because they want to offer their services to other people and team up with them. I can then go to, say, Tim and look at the games that he's created. I like the sound quality of those. I want to reach out to him. And then he's got 3 or 4 or 5 different ways to connect with him. Unity Connect is on there. Unity forums are there, as well as the standard ones like LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, and some specialized ones, Discord, Audacity. I'm trying to think what the other one is. Anyway, there are some graphic ones, some audio ones, and some other sort of specific gaming ones as well. You can actually put all those on, and if there is something we haven't got on there, there's also the ability to just add a website. So we're giving you the ability to basically put yourself out there, showcase what skills you have, what games you've created, and find other people that may want to work with you. So I highly encourage you to check that out, the contest and the community. Thanks for listening. I'll be here for another 5 or so minutes, and hope that was great.
Question. I made a game and using UMP and everything, and it worked great. Totally seamless to test it with the Xbox. It was awesome. The whole dev page thing, so easy to use.
I'm waiting for the but.
The but is my game is for 5-year-olds.
Okay.
And the whole Xbox Live thing is really uncomfortable. In fact, I tried to figure out a way of because it's required. You have to have the Xbox Live stuff in there in order to submit it to the store. And I ended up getting rejected from the store because of not having the Xbox Live in there correctly. But is there some way that you can minimize that to a point to not scare away the parents of the 5-year-olds who really don't want that Xbox Live stuff for their little kids?
So that's a good question, and there's a couple of different answers, different avenues you could take. One is, as I said, the absolute minimum is just the Xbox Live gamer tag, right? So that you don't have to implement anything else, just that. You can have child gamer tags that are attached to a parent profile, parent account, so they can control all the access that child has. And so they can just control, you can't install games, you can't do this, and the parent actually controls everything. So that's number one. The second one is you might want to explore the actual just installing it as an app instead of a game. Because the app model doesn't have that full utilization of the resources, but does have some. And depending on how performance heavy your game is, you may be able to get away with putting it through the app channel. Yeah, you can actually publish apps to the Xbox as well. Yeah.
Hi, I'm a UWP developer, and mostly been doing things for the HoloLens for the past 4 months.
Awesome.
And one of the biggest problems that I ran into, so I'm doing networking. I'm networking multiple HoloLenses together. And there was a release for one of the Holo Academy tutorials that did do this, but it was very difficult to tear it apart because it had dependencies and 50 other scripts that were doing it. And the Holo Toolkit developers are not very responsive, so you kind of have to just rely on the community. Now, I realize there's a mixed reality booth downstairs, but I mean, just generically for developer outreach, are you planning on having further programs to actually get in touch personally with the developers? Because there's some awesome content for the HoloLens, and it says partnered with Microsoft, and they've got direct access. So are you planning on having sessions with certain parts of the Microsoft engineers with the developers?
We're trying to, and so that's why in this particular event, there actually is a mixed reality / HoloLens talk tomorrow to give you access from an actual engineer to actually present on that stuff. So come to that and ask him that question.
Right.
And we do have some more HoloLens technical people here at the mixed reality booth as well.
At the booth. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
But we are trying to do that better.
Right.
Yeah. Cool.